Storm Agnes caused damage to buildings, power outages, and travel disruption as heavy winds and rain battered the island of Ireland. A roof was blown off a building in Cork and a woman had to be rescued from her car in Londonderry as a result of flooding. The Republic and Northern Ireland saw travel disruption with fallen trees blocking roads and flights and ferries also affected. Meanwhile, National Grid reported that hundreds of homes in Devon, Cornwall, and the Isles of Scilly suffered power outages as a result of the heavy wind. Most homes were reconnected by Wednesday evening after the storm brought gusts of more than 60 miles per hour to the southwest of England. The Met Office warned that while Storm Agnes has cleared away to the northeast, there will be strong winds overnight on Wednesday and across the north and west on Thursday. In Dripperstown, Derry, a woman was rescued from her car after it was trapped by floodwater when fire crews from Mahara and Maherfield arrived at the scene. The car was submerged in the River Moyola. A firefighter broke a rear window of the car and brought the driver out onto the roof. They walked over a ladder to safety shortly before the car was fully submerged in the river. The Northern Ireland Fire Service NIFRS advised motorists not to attempt to drive through flooded roads or fords during the storm and not to travel in heavy rain unless absolutely necessary from Land's End to John O'Groats. An extensive yellow weather warning for strong and potentially disruptive winds on the west side of the UK was enforced. The alert came into effect from midday and ended on Thursday at 7 a.m. A further 2 yellow rain warnings lasting between 3 p.m. on Wednesday to 3 a.m. on Thursday had been issued in Scotland, one of which stretches from the west coast to Aberdeen. A separate rain alert covering much of Northern Ireland was also in place from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Wednesday. Footage caught flights making their way into Belfast City Airport battling against the wind on their way down to the runway. Dublin Airport said it is operating normally but had received a number of flights that had been diverted from Kerry Airport. Cork Airport experienced some delays and cancellations, and a spokesperson from Belfast City Airport said disruption to schedules across the UK due to the weather is likely. While Storm Agnes was not expected to bring bad weather to the southeast, its impact will be felt according to the Met Office. The winds from the south will bring warm temperatures that are up to 5 degrees hotter than is normal at this time of year. The first named storm of the season drummed up a high of 79 miles per hour winds in Capelcurich, a village in Wales, on Wednesday evening. Elsewhere, winds were recorded reaching speeds of 68 miles per hour in Aberdeen, Wales, 58 miles per hour in Glen and Northern Ireland, and 54 miles per hour in Camborne, Cornwall. Storm Agnes triggered a series of Met Office yellow weather warnings for wind and rain across the UK, with forecasts of damaging winds and big stormy seas. The UK has experienced flooding, travel disruption, and power outages. Around 135 properties on the Isles of Scilly in the southwest of England experienced power outages for just under 4 hours earlier on Wednesday, according to National Grid, but the Met Office said the main impact on the UK has been strong winds. The meteorologist Dan Stroud told the PA news agency that gusts are starting to ease in England and Wales. He said it's an improving picture across England and Wales, but there's still some very strong gusts actually further north across Northern Ireland and Scotland. National Grid dealt with power outages at hundreds of properties, but many have been reconnected on Wednesday evening as wind subsided. Coast Guards have been advising people to take weather warnings seriously, and a yellow wind warning is in place until 7 o'clock British Summer Time on Thursday. Flood alerts are in place on the North Cornwall and Devon coasts. They extend from the Rumps to Heartland Point, excluding Bute, with communities most at risk including Port Quinn, Port Isaac, Port Cavern, and Boss Castle. Earlier on Wednesday, 133 properties on the Isles of Scilly off the Cornish coast were left without power, and 530 properties around Jacobstow in North Cornwall were also without power. Devon was also affected during the day with power outages for about 50 properties around Westward Ho. The properties on the Isles of Scilly, Jacobstow, and Westward Hope were later reconnected, but 133 properties around Warburstow in North Cornwall were still without power, the Environment Agency said, with yellow wind warnings and coastal flood alerts in the southwest. Today, please stay safe and keep away from coastal paths, piers, and promenades. All of today's ferry sailings have been canceled in anticipation of the stormy conditions. The Steam Packet Company confirmed both the Manx Man and the Manon will not be in operation from Isham or Liverpool. Passengers who were booked on the sailings are being asked to contact the reservations team on 661-661. Storm Agnes is continuing to cause further disruption for other organizations around the Isle of Man. Manx National Heritage MNH has confirmed that the Laxey Wheel and the Grove Museum have both been closed for the remainder of the day, but all other MNH sites remain open. Manx Wildlife Trust has also urged people to keep an eye out for washed-up seal pups that may be found around the island's coastline. The wildlife charities say an increased number of seal pups are being washed onto beaches in the island due to stormy weather conditions. The charity is asking people to keep their distance from any seal, but to report any that appear to be in distress directly to the Manx Wildlife Trust. TransLink advised passengers to leave extra time for their journey due to the treacherous weather as delays hit the Enterprise rail service between Belfast and Dublin after a tree fell on overhead lines. 8 counties have been placed on a status orange wind warning by Met Éireann, while Waterford, Cork, and Kerry will also be on a status orange alert for rain. Carlow, Kilkenny, Wexford, Wicklow, Cork, Kerry, Tipperary, and Waterford have been warned to very strong and gusty southerly winds with some severe and damaging gusts between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Waterford, Cork, and Kerry could also see spells of heavy and occasionally intense rain between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. A status yellow wind warning has also been issued for Leinster, Munster, and Galway, along with a separate status yellow rain warning for Carlow, Dublin, Kilkenny, Wexford, and Wicklow. Both come into effect at 7 a.m. and will be valid until midnight. Disruption is likely in places as Storm Agnes tracks northwards over Ireland, with Met Éireann saying it will be very windy with outbreaks of heavy rain resulting in possible spot flooding. Earlier, the forecaster said there would be heavy rain and strong winds, but it will not be an apocalyptic storm. It said conditions are likely to result in difficult travel conditions, power outages, fallen trees, coastal flooding, and poor visibility. The senior meteorologist with Met Éireann, Jerry Murphy, said there is a possibility of some low-level coastal flooding, but that the maximum wind and rain expected with Storm Agnes should not correspond with the highest tide. Speaking on RT's Morning Ireland, Mr. Murphy said the storm is still well in the Atlantic, but its effects will be felt from later this evening when rainfall should begin. So overnight we're going to see the rainfall pushing up across the country, and that won't reach the northeast by morning, but it'll reach much of the country by morning, and that'll be the first thing to get from Agnes. It currently looks like the storm will mainly travel up over the southern part of the country, he explained, but that will still bring strong south to southeast winds, especially to southern and eastern coastal counties. However, it is going to be wet and windy everywhere. He said there is also a status orange marine warning for coastal areas of the east and south. Met Éireann said that winds will reach storm force 10 at times from Belfast Lock to Consort Point to Valencia and on the Irish Sea. Mr. Murphy said he believes the Cyclone Center in Miami overstated the dangers of Storm Agnes when it tweeted that a danger to life could occur during the storm. This is certainly a storm depression and will certainly bring stormy conditions off the south coast and off the east coast, and if the low pressure tracks further north, certainly the winds will be stronger overland as well in Munster and Leinster, in which case the warnings will increase to orange, but overland over Ireland it is high yellow, low orange. It is not an apocalyptic storm. Yellow wind warning has also been issued for Northern Ireland. It will be in place from 12 p.m. until 7 a.m. on Thursday. Storm Agnes has been named by the UK Met Office and is the first named storm of the season. The system will bring strong winds and heavy rain to the UK throughout the day. There is a small chance of injuries and danger to life from flying debris. According to the forecaster, Met Office spokesperson Stephen Dixon said that Northern Ireland could see in excess of 30 millimeters of rainfall in a relatively short period of time. Foreign